So if nobody's ever done the Ancestry DNA, these are the instructions. So you have to activate the kit online, safe and secure, and there's an activation code on the side of the kit. I have to go to the online website, punch in the activation code, and then number 2, gather DNA, simple and easy. Do not skip this step. You cannot get the results unless you activate your test. So go to ancestrydna.com/activate. Don't have an Ancestry account. It is easy and free. To help you set it up, then enter the 15-digit activation code from the collection tube, which my collection tube is in there. And those are the instructions there. Then I keep it for my records. If there's anything else in here. Then do not eat or drink or smoke or chew gum for 30 minutes before giving your saliva sample. So you're going to fill the tube with the saliva from your mouth. The rest of the instructions: replace the tube with the cap. Tighten, release stabilization fluid. And then a warning: do not ingest the stabilization solution in the tube cap. If your skin or eye come in contact with the solution, wash it with water. Keep DNA kit out of reach of children. So with 6 to 8 weeks, I will get my results back. Shake the tube for 5 seconds. This will ensure the sample mixes through the stabilization. It's hard to talk. Like I said, I have the saliva in my mouth through the tube. Place the tube in the collection bag and then mail in your sample. So I can review the results online. So I'm kind of excited about that. I don't have to wait till a piece of paper comes into the mail. So this is where the tube is, right here, for the Ancestry. So I'm going to open that up and fill it up. So I'm actually holding some DNA inside so I can put it with the kit. So I'm going to show you the instructions for the kit so everybody can do this. So my face looks kind of funny. So this is the tube right here. So usually there's like a blue solution in the top of the tube, and then if you screw the tube on to where you put your saliva at, the blue stuff that would be in the top of the tube would go to the bottom of the tube, and then I guess that settles the DNA. So now I'm ready to put it in the bag and mail it off, and then the next time you'll see me, I'll have the results. So this video is actually pre-recorded 6 weeks before, and it'll be 6 weeks after when we get the results and share those results. So I'm kind of excited about this. I think I'm going to also get one of these tests for my mother, because my mother said that she wanted to do one of these tests because she was interested, but I'm thinking that some of my tests, of course, will match hers because, of course, she's my mother, unless the hospital made a mistake. But I wonder if they have the test split up between what came from your maternal side and what came from your paternal side. But if not, I'll get her own test. But, you can't deny your parents in some instances, because I remember when I was in high school and my mother had switched from one job to another job. And then this lady who came in to pick up her daughter, I happened to be in the office that day. And she came over to me and she was like, "Are you such and such's son?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Well, I used to work with your mother. My name is Diane, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Okay." And I was like, "How did you know that was my mother?" And the secretary was like, "Steven, are you serious?" And I was like, "What?" She was like, "You look just like your mother." And I was like, "I was always told I look like my father." And she was like, "No, you're straight up your mother." But in the same instance, one of my mother's current co-workers at that time asked me to go with him to pick up a bed for his son that was being given to his son. So I went with him, and it was an older couple's house. And he said, "This is my friend, da da da." So she came over to me and she smiled and she said, "Hello, young man." And I said, "Hello." And then she said, "You look just like your father." So then I happened to look at him, and I just nodded my head at her, thinking it was something that, you know, people of wisdom say. And then he said, "You don't understand. You don't understand, Shirley." And she said, "Shut up! I know what I'm talking about." And I said, "He looks like his father." And then she said, "Is your name Steven, da da da?" And I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, and I said, well, she knows exactly what she's talking about. He said, "I thought your last name was such and such." I said, "Yeah, but I said, but my father's name is such and such, but I don't have his last name. I have my mother's last name." I said, "I have my father's first name." That was the only thing my mother was going to give him. She said you weren't getting his whole name, you know, so you just got his first name. And she said the reason why I got the first name because my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, convinced her to name me after him. But back to the story. So then she said, "I went to school with your father, me and my husband." So then she said, "I want you to meet my husband." So then she said, Reggie, come here. I want you to look at this young man and tell me who he is." So then he looked at me and he was like, "Steven." And then she said, "You know?" And I was like, "Who are you?" You know, and then he said, "He looks just like his mother." And she said, "No, he looks like his father." And then she said, "No." He said, "No, he looks just like his mother." And he said, "I don't know. I guess it's a split." So I went to my mother and I said, "Mom, do you know Shirley and Reggie?" And then she was thinking about it. She said, "Yeah, they went to school with your father." And then I said, "Did I ever meet them?" And she was like, "No, why?" And I said, "Because they looked at me and they knew exactly where I came from." And she was like, "Really?" And then I said, "Well, she said I look like, you know, my dad." And I said, "And he said I look like you and Nana." And I said, "Does he know Nana?" And then she was like, "Yeah, he knows Nana." I was trying to remember, think back, was Nana alive at the time? Matter of fact, Nana was alive at the time. My maternal grandmother, I called her Nana. And because he was a New Haven cop, and I guess you know, because the New Haven police station, I guess sometimes they had patients, and some patients had to be checked into the mental facility. My grandmother worked at the mental facility, and then so sometimes cops would be assigned there or whatever. So that's how she knew him. But I'm excited about getting the results from this test. So it'll be 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks that the results will come, and I'm going to share this results with you. So as you're seeing this video, it's going to transfer into the 6 to 8 weeks, and we're going to have the results of the Ancestry DNA. So, you know, just leave me some comments below if anybody has ever tried this test. You know, what do the results look like? Did you discover some things about yourself that you didn't know? You know, I know, like I said, obviously, you know, the African American comes through, but you know, just some of the other origins that may possibly exist. I would like to be interested in what they are. So, you know, so I'm excited to get this test and get the results. So it's going to be 6 weeks later. It's going to be a minute. Okay, everybody, 6 weeks has gone by, and I have finally got the test results. And one thing that I can say that is interesting about these test results is that if anybody else in your family or anybody else that you're related to has taken an Ancestry DNA, it connects you with their DNA and says that there's a possible match. You'll say either extremely high, high, or good. And on this test, I have 276 matches of people that I'm related to. So I'm going to show you the results, and then we're going to talk about the results, okay? To view your genetic ancestry, ethnic regions. So, in my DNA, I'm 82% African, 1% Asian, 16% European, 1% American. And with the African consisting of 29% Nigerian, 19% Ivory Coast Ghana, 15% Cameroon Congo, 7% Senegal. And then if I click on that, there's a little more. So 4% Mali, 3% Benin Togo, 3% Southeastern Africa, 1% Africa South Central, and 1% Africa North. And like I said, 1% Asian, 16% European, with 10% Europe West. And if I click on that, 4% Ireland, 1% Great Britain, and 1% Italy, Greece. So, also with the Ancestry DNA, like I said before, if there's any of your relatives that have taken this, distant relatives, immediate relatives, or whatever, they will link up your DNA with their DNA as well. Because, sure enough, now on my father's side, my maternal grandmother, I don't know too many of her relatives because a lot of them are in South Carolina, and I've never gotten the opportunity to go to South Carolina or certain parts of New York to meet them. But I DNA matched with a second cousin, and his last name was Myers. And before I even realized like where he came from, I looked at his last name and it was Myers, and I said, well, wait a minute, my paternal, excuse me, my father's mother. So my paternal grandmother, her last name was Myers. So I clicked on him, and it said it could possibly be a fourth or fifth cousin, but then his family tree was listed. So it said we had family tree matches. So I went into the family tree match, and sure enough, when I looked at his family tree, my grandmother was listed, my father was listed, my great grandfather was listed, and so on. And then it showed him and it showed me, and sure enough, we are second cousins once removed, because he's actually my father's second cousin. So it's kind of amazing how, like, if somebody that you've never known about have taken this DNA test, it'll connect you with them. Also, my father's first cousin, who lives in New York, who I do know about, her grandchild shared DNA with me. So it also showed that, and I never met her grandchild. I know her because she would come up sometimes and visit my grandmother, and she would come and visit my father too. So I know of her, but I didn't know really her children. I don't really know too well, but her grandchildren I don't know at all. So sure enough, it showed that I had DNA matches with one of her grandchildren who was up there. So sure enough, that grandchild ended up seeing it. They ended up contacting me through Ancestry.com and asked me, is your father's name Stephen such and such? And I said, yes, that's my father. And they said, my mother looked at you and saw your father, so she assumed that you were his son. And I said, yes, she's exactly correct. She said, my mother Diana. And I said, wow, that's awesome. And I said, isn't this thing just amazing how it'll find your relatives? And then she was like, yeah. She was like, I'm on the phone with my grandmother right now. Her grandmother's name is Dorothy, who's my father's first cousin. I said, I'm on the phone with her right now, and I just told her, and she's reminiscing. I said, well, how's Dorothy doing? Because I haven't seen Dorothy in so long. And she was like, she's doing well. And I said, tell her I said hi. So I think eventually at some point I want to connect with him if I ever go up to that part of New York. So it's amazing. Plus it finds some distant cousins, and there's another lady that's in New York that it showed that we share DNA with, but it doesn't exactly show, because she doesn't have her family tree listed. It doesn't show how we're related. It just says, you share DNA with this person, and this one's a moderate DNA. So we were talking, and then she said, you might be the missing key to one of my father's brothers, or one of my grandmother's brothers, I think she said. And she said, because there was a brother that left and he never came back home. He went to another country in such and such. And I said, oh, and she asked me what was my family's name. So I told her and all that. And then she was like, I'm going to have to do some more research. I said, well, feel free if there's any information that I can give you. Because like I said, I don't have a lot of information on my father's side of the family. And then my mother's side, I have my other grandmother's. I have a lot of information with that, because that family kept a large record. That family kept a 200 to 300 year record, and I wish we had also done that on my father's side of the family. But Ancestry DNA, I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance to take that test, and it'll tell you all your ethnic regions, and if you have any relatives that are on there, it will find those relatives, and it'll also show you like how many DNA markers match. So with that one second cousin, it showed like how many markers existed, but he also had a family tree. So when I looked on his family tree and I saw, my grandmother's name and then my father's name, and I was like, okay, so he's definitely related. So, just make sure whatever DNA kit you do, it is reputable, and it's from a reputable company. Like I said, Ancestry DNA. Leave me some comments below if anybody has done this. Enjoy your Friday, and as always, let's do this.